My name is Crystal Nickson. I am the financial coach at ProsperUs Detroit, and I'm sitting here with Laura Sigmon, who is not only a colleague, but my mentor, and I'm very excited.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you so much. I'm Laura Sigmon of Best Practices Consulting Services, where your business is our business. And I'm excited about having the opportunity to sit in on this interview. I like working with ProsperUs Detroit because it is one of the agencies that I've had a long-standing relationship with that actually keeps me really rooted and grounded in what's happening on the ground with a startup business. Majority of our clients are distressed assets through municipalities. They're looking for people who are, trying to flee a brick and mortar, trying to look for tax abatements and all the rest. But ProsperUs keeps me on the cutting edge of working with the ideators, the innovative small businesses that are going to be the lifeblood for business to come. So I absolutely adore and appreciate having this long-standing relationship.
Yes. All right. Well, I have some questions prepared.
Okay.
Thank goodness. That we can get into. Mm-hmm. Do I do these? They're color-coded.
All right.
Oh, this is the cutest thing ever. Miss Laura, what is the impact on society of empowering women in entrepreneurship?
That's a multi-layered response. Women have been the lap, but they've also been the leaders, right? So you need to learn to nurture and lead with a sense of empathy and emotional intelligence. And I think in our community in particular, I'm nothing against men, but women typically understand because this is what we have to do on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Plan everybody else's life, plan what's happening in the future, anticipate the next thing that's coming. Our impact is exactly what it's always been generationally, historically, right? Women can be business owners because we are mothers. We are the head of the household, at least by way of the domestic side of things traditionally, right? We're also the ones who are going to be the lifeblood and the heartbeat for what needs to happen in the household and the community, at the church, at the business, at the community center. What is the impact then? It's exactly what it's always been. We're the ones who get the job done.
Sorry,
I mean, we need the guys.
Amen.
But the women do it.
I'm going to the next question.
All right.
I love this. Do I put these back? This is the cutest thing. Who did these?
I know, right?
Oh, okay. What are 5 rewarding lessons you've learned in your journey as a woman in the world of entrepreneurship? 5. I'm going to open it up.
So check this out, Crystal. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner. I'm a transferred talent into a space that allowed me to monetize that. I'm not that risk interested. An entrepreneur is. They're seeking, exploring opportunities and trying to monetize it. So you've got to be ready and resilient to be an entrepreneur. You've got to be interested in understanding how to ebb and flow with what the demands of the market call for. You need to sort of understand your limitations and have a locus of control so that you can flesh through, hear the resounding voice for getting you to market. Small business owners, we found something, we manifest destiny, I staked it, and I'm doing this thing, and this is it. An entrepreneur is allowed to fail.
Yes.
They can do iterations of their space. I cannot. I'm not that. I'm not spirited enough to be an entrepreneur.
I am not free-willing enough.
I'm just not.
Or adventurous enough.
I'm just not too
be
old for one.
That's what it is.
I'm too old. For one, I can't do that.
Yes.
But I love the fact that there's a place, a lap, for you to learn how to actually do that. Yeah, at ProsperUs.
Did y'all get those 5 that she listed in the middle of the conversation? Did you give the answers? Okay, amen. Next question. What guidance can you give women interested in entrepreneurship? What skills, knowledge, and qualities are essential for success? What challenges may they face, and how can they overcome them? I will break it down if you want me to.
Woo-wee, that's a lot. Mentorship, ambassadorship, and sponsorship for women.
Yes.
We're typically stepping into a place and space where we may not have a lot of people who've been where we're trying to go on the small business or entrepreneurship side. You know, we walk the path that people have already sort of like told us we need to be in. So to be pioneering, you need to have someone who's been a bit before you, right? So I find that I had to lean in on a lot of men to get my book of business, to get to the space in which I operate. I can say today that I feel that there is a more comfortable footing because there are people like us who've sort of like pioneered the opportunity, not just as small business owners, but as advocates for the next generation of women trying to learn their space, trying to figure out how to understand what's situated and what's not so situated. I really think some of the challenges are being able to recognize when to be self and when to be a chameleon, because there's a requirement. You can't always show up authentically.
Yes.
I want to say that you can,
yeah.
but I don't know that you can in every event. You know, I consider myself a general, but I'm a general who has to have some interest in meeting people where they are.
Yes.
Well, that ain't what a general does. The general points his finger and gives direction and tells people what to do. Right. But for women today, they expect us to be ever bending and bowing and flexible. So I think a young woman or a woman coming into entrepreneurship today might be able to wear a different skin if she understands the rule of engagement.
All right.
You've got to understand the rules of engagement.
ProsperUs Detroit is a valuable resource for women entrepreneurs with women in roles that help pave the way for people in business, such as financial coach.
Yes,
Shameless plug.
ma'am.
All right. What is your perspective on the significance and motivational impact of having such a resource available?
Yeah, so because I've seen it at its early stages to what it is today, after 10 years, I think back to Kimberly Faison, a trailblazer, and meeting through even under the Southwest Solutions umbrella, advocacy, laying the foundation and the groundwork, and trying to redevelop and redefine what success looked like for entrepreneurs as well as her and her staff. And then I think through Chanel and her iteration, and oh my God, what she did, moving it to the CDFI, and then situating it where her staff could be empowered to do the work that they do because they're so connected to community. And then they could redefine what success looked like. Meeting people regardless of where they come from in a neighborhood, and then being the lowest rung on the lending ladder, meaning we understand your story and it's all forgiven, let's move forward. That level of wraparound service is so unique. You've got Matthew, who is an avid champion for the small business, regardless of their credit, their story, their back end. If the idea can be realized, what do we need to do to help you get there? Yes. And I know because I pumped people into the ProsperUs network.
And you do.
And then I see like Charlene Donaldson, you know, being the director of what they think this new evolution is, and then giving her some freedom and autonomy to redevelop, because it's evolution. Nothing stays the same. Exactly. Nothing in life stays the same. So when I step back and I look at what it was, even if it's a little uncomfortable with the transitions, I realize it's intent.
Yes.
And seeing the intent and the impact and the fact that they've got the gravitas, they've got the buy-in, the community understands, their name is big and bodacious. ProsperUs Detroit is a neighborhood gym. You don't go to an entrepreneurship training program and not know ProsperUs Detroit. But I also want to say that I think one of their successes is the fact that they value the experience that the trainers bring to the table. They recognize us as strategic partners.
We love our trainers. We absolutely love our trainers.
And I like the fact that we aren't curriculum driven. We're real life experience driven.
That's what I think makes us very successful in our program.
Yeah.
We tap people who are recognizable.
Yeah.
We tap people who are not from the same, let's say, financial income background level.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't come from money. Maybe you didn't go to the best schools.
Yeah.
Maybe you did come from money.
Yeah.
Maybe you did go to the best schools.
Yeah.
There is gleaning to do from both sets of people.
That's right.
And I like that we do that.
And they allow us to play to our strengths, right? I'm an entrepreneur who I tell people when they listen to me, I'm a refugee small business owner. Refugee. This was not the thing I set out to. I didn't get an MBA to be a small business owner.
Oh.
I wanted to be on Wall Street.
Yes,
What do you mean?
yes.
What? I wanted to control the world. I wanted minions.
Wow.
And they decided that I wasn't of value or worth, and I had to redefine myself to have a program that starts at that point.
Yes.
When you're ready to plug in and you're ready to connect wherever and however you show up. Isn't that interesting that there's an actual place that will receive you and give you the opportunity to learn and glean from my experience? I have 20 years in corporate management. I'm going to tell you how many billions of dollars of contracts I ran as the regional director for FedEx. I've seen it all. I was a female in a male-dominated environment running an international space. Are you nuts? I've seen it. To take that and put it into a box and meet the entrepreneur who wants to do her shea butter and her food truck and wants to start her kitchen and wants to do some hair and want to help other people.
Yes.
They need the same skills and talents that I had to hone at another space. But I'm also the owner of Best Practices. With 7 people on payroll, I'm a living, walking experience of the world that they hope to endeavor.
I wish I could just bump it. We do that
Making that payroll every 2 weeks. I know I got $9,600 coming out every 2 weeks. This is a real decision every single day. So I could talk to you from my real life experience. And that I think is most important. And I think ProsperUs gives us that gateway.
Extremely valuable.
And a financial coach to help us make sure that making good sense, good money, good sense.
Because period. Just because period. Oh, this is a better. It's not so many words. Okay. Okay. In the realm of business and entrepreneurship, what is the significance of women supporting and inspiring each other?
I mentioned briefly earlier that we need ambassadors, we need sponsors, and we need mentors. As an older generation, I'm not the baby boomer, but the one directly after. I'm the sandwich generation. We were told to do what they tell us to do and to not stand out or do anything very different.
Yep.
But I could see Chanel was the CEO of ProsperUs Detroit. She's a junior in so many spaces to me. And I could see her success. You've got Carla Walker Miller. And then you've got the lady who owns a trucking company. Then you've got Detroit Love Tours. And then you've got these women who are probably not quite 40, who are trailblazers. What? I think the playbook is different. I think what was is not what is. I think we have to figure out the melting pot. I've got sort of like my playbook, and I understand what I can do, Crystal, to help other women and mentor other women and be available. I can sponsor you because I've got networks. I can be your ambassador or your beacon. I may not be the mentor. You got to plug in where it makes good sense. Amen. Right? B2B, B2C, B2G, however that space looks, whatever that looks like. When I tell people to call Coach Crystal or Crystal Nickson, who is the certified financial planner or social worker, I say, be ready because she's looking for something in particular. She's removing barriers, but the barrier needs to be removed because your habits are broken and you're ready to start a whole new thing. Absolutely. That's mentorship, right? In ProsperUs, we can have ambassadors, we can have mentors, and we can have sponsors. Sometimes we're all three, sometimes we're one or the other. And I think this small community, ProsperUs had a few events throughout the year where, we would go to an entrepreneur setup, and I look at these young people, and I don't know them, but I see how they get down. You've got immigrant populations doing work. They all are cohesive. They feed one another. They've created a collective, their own community. Everything I learned in a silo. Me, myself, and I. ProsperUs has made community. I think that's the new way of doing things.
I think this is a good time for me to shower you with your flowers.
This one right here.
I'm going to give you your flowers that probably belong to somebody else. Laura is my mentor, as I stated before. There has not been a place that she has kicked the door down into that she has not invited me along with her. And that is mentorship.
That's right.
That is consideration. That is leaving nobody behind. That is sisters helping sisters. That is women helping women. That is women's empowerment. And I'm grateful for you. And I do love you. And I'm so happy to know you.
Your network is your net worth, Crystal. I'll always live by that. People who find value in what I do, how I do, are the reason that I exist today, because I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to do the same thing for them. They will never have to worry about it's a resounding yes when they call every single time. Those who take care of me, we are a loyal clan. I have a blood family, but I also have a clan outside of the blood family. And I understand the resiliency and what's required to make that significant. I cannot be on the island by myself. I need strategic partners and alliances. This world is difficult, but I like slaying dragons, and I can only do it because I am Legion. Where I go, there are many behind me. Yeah. We are paving the way. I'm running the ball. You understand?
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
We're going to get this thing in.
Last question.
Very good.
Excuse us. Who are some of the women entrepreneurs who have motivated and inspired you to keep striving for success?
Again, so I'll tell you, I'm a refugee entrepreneur. I lost my job May 6th, 2008, when I was the director for FedEx. I had the international territory, all of Michigan, Canada, and top part of Ohio. Mm-hmm. And after they put my stuff in a box and they mailed me my 3-week severance and sent me the end of my bonus, say, you'll be okay, you're resilient, you'll be all right. I had to figure out a new space. I interviewed 64 jobs, 64 applications. I put in 64 of them, Crystal. I had about 20 interviews, and none of them wanted to meet me at my 6-figure salary, at which I was accustomed, in the lifestyle in which I had. I was told that I could be a dispatcher when I was a regional director. I'm like, that's the bottom rung of first level entry. And they wanted me to swallow the pill because it was 2008, right? Supply and demand. Supply and demand is a real thing. Even in the economy, when you're looking for a job, it is supply and demand. Yeah. I started watching other men of various ethnicities who were trailblazers, and I needed to understand the sacrifice they had to make. And I said, well, let me call unemployment. It was $287 every 2 weeks. The mortgage, the cottage, the boat, the stuff that I had acquired in my life were not going to be sated with $287 a month. Mm-hmm. I needed something different. I needed something different. Entrepreneurship or small business ownership was the only way to go. I couldn't find a woman at that time that I could mimic. I had the first ladies at church who could, do what they were doing. I had people in my prayer cell that I could connect to. I had women who were prominent because they were under the auspice of their husbands. I had not recognized, when I was in transportation, I was one of about 480. I was one of 487 in total, but 44 women, 12 black women. Oh. Yeah, and so we all were in classifications by our revenue thresholds. Mm-hmm. So just say there were 14 thresholds. I was in threshold number 3. So the higher up you go, the fewer of us were represented. And I stepped out of that environment. I didn't have a single woman that I could rely upon. My dad told me to find a job. My mother told me to find a new husband. It's the honest to God truth. And so I didn't have a woman who I knew, who would lead me into that. So I got really engrossed. I went back to teach collegiately. Okay. And so then I helped Mott Community College design their entrepreneurship training program. Had never been an entrepreneur. I'd only been in business from a leadership company paid person. Mm-hmm. But I was still trying to sort of like create my own footprint at the very Same time, I had to lean in on the men who've been ahead of me. So hats off to the fellas who did it the right way.
That's important.
They were the ones who did it for me. They made an opportunity for me. They saw how I would grind, and you know how I learned that they weren't paying me attention as a woman because they stopped talking to me like a woman.
Oh.
They stopped treating me like a woman, you know.
Treat me like one of the fellas.
Like one of the fellas, they would forget I was a woman. Other women would walk in the room and they would hold the chair and pull it out from the table. All right, but that's Laura. And so it got to the point where I had this reputation of getting it done.
Got it.
And that's all that mattered to me, was that if they would just reach back and make a crack, I'm on my way. And I realized that I had to change the landscape and get other people. I was discounted by some women once I finally got into certain circles. They did exist, but they didn't recognize me, right? And it's not always a serving opportunity. Sometimes we are a pecking opportunity, if that makes sense. We're concerned or afraid of those who want to stand shoulder to shoulder, right? They sort of feel like we haven't done our due, or we're trying to take something from them.
Absolutely.
I'm so situated in my space, I could care less about what you have. Yours is yours and mine is mine, and just give me my opportunity so I can do what I can do. The men understood that. I didn't think the women understood that. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I don't even want what you have. I want what's mine, and that's it.
And that's on
That's all I need. Today, I have women like Carolyn over at MWF. I had Alexis at MWF. Tanya Rose at Fifth Third Bank. I have Dolores Sturdivant, who sits at DDF. I got Angeline. Yes. I have made a whole new alliance of women who are great examples of what I currently need, but you don't get there until you prove yourself. Exactly. It was in that proof that they now reach back and make room for me. But I didn't get in that room. I did not get into the room until the men opened the door.
So, support from women is, of course, we need it. Absolutely 100%. That's a no-brainer. But in order for us to advance the way we need to advance and to be able to make the impact that we can make, we need the support of men.
Absolutely. We're in a space now where you've got CEOs, female CEOs who can, muster and flex a bit and make room for you, but there are opportunities and times where you're going to need to lean in on people who actually can read the tea leaves and know the landscape a little bit better. Sometimes they make tokenism out of what we do because it's necessary, and you may not have a real resounding voice, but I advocate for all men and women if they are worthy of my time. I'm vested, somewhat interested, or not at all, and that depends on how you show up. That's right. The bottom line. That was it.
We got it. We done. Period.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. I love what ProsperUs does. Like I said, they keep me connected to the ecosystem and the fledglings. I consider them the fledglings, the people who are, willing to take a risk, because I was not that. I had to be pushed off the ledge to fall in the space that they're in. And the ones who do it on their own, let me just say this really quickly. My first cohort at ProsperUs Detroit were a group of allies. They were just like me. It was a group of people who all lost their jobs. We were all MBAs. We were all people who had 20-year careers in some space. And we were all trying to reimagine our new life. I'd only been in business 5 years by the time I connected with ProsperUs Detroit. And so the SBA will tell you got 5 years to sort of like figure out if it's a business or a hobby. Not true. You might need 7 or 8 or 9 years to figure out the thing. Why? Because you're still trying to figure out what you've never had access to before. Exactly. Especially if you're doing it by yourself. Exactly. There was no ProsperUs when I had to do it. I had $60,000 in the bank, and they told me, we can't give you any money because you don't have a W-2.
See, that's where I usually... I'm so happy things have changed.
I had an 819 credit score, and I couldn't get eye water to cry with, because they were like, we don't know you. And no. Did I say I was supposed to say the bank? I did, but they did. They did that to me.
We're going to cut that out.
So I had to find paying clients. There were no loans or microloans coming my way.
Absolutely.
I had to find paying clients who were willing to pay me, and I had to realize that my savings was dwindling, and I had to figure out this business thing. So I'm a hard knock, scratch it from the ground, get it together. So today, the fact that unsecured means a whole lot to me. I don't have to put my social security number on no thing to get my instruments.
Nathaniels. On Nathaniels, nothing.
I like the fact that the business stands on its own, and the fact that we are in 9 counties in Michigan with 3 physical offices in Michigan and under contract with 7 different municipalities, moving on our way into California. And I'm not concerned. I need ProsperUs Detroit to keep me balanced.
You have to keep your ear to the ground.
To keep my ear to what's really going on. Because if I lose a large contract, I lost a 6-figure contract 2 years ago. I was devastated. But you know what I didn't lose? ProsperUs Detroit.
And we didn't lose you.
And because of that, my network is my net worth. And when they call, I will answer. Period.
Period. Sorry.
That part right there.
Okay.
So it's interesting when we look at the BIPOC population, and specifically the Hispanic population, African American, Black population, we have the same needs. We have the same opportunities. And we need to leverage those things. It just so happens that 50% of my staff are of a Hispanic population, right? I understand and resonate because I think we get down the same way.
Yes.
I like the hustle mentality that they have, and I like the hustle mentality of which I've come from, right?
Yes, yes.
And I think there's a marrying of the two, and we need to understand we're stronger together than separate,
Yes.
right? So in my Flint market, we have a population that's blended and mixed.
Yes, we do.
In my Lansing population, we're actually running the Ascend program, which is going to be 12 entrepreneurs that are all of the Hispanic ethnicity, right alongside the Elevate program, which are all African American people.
Yes.
And so I am blending my staff and my resources, and we are going to leverage what's necessary in order for us to elevate the standard, right? I actually hired some support from California to help me with another project that I have. Why?
Right.
Because they understand everything I'm going through. Access to capital, being shut out, being leveraged. There's business sharecropping. Those are real things. But when we leverage our resources, we now have strength in numbers.
Yeah.
So we can leverage those resources, but we need to understand how we come together. We have more in common than we have as deficits. So much more in common. And I'm learning that. And I thank my staff for training and teaching me that on a regular basis. What's really cool about ProsperUs Detroit is that they already get that.
Yes, we get it.
There is no wall or segregation between the two. It's all inclusive. And depending on what side of the tracks you've come from, the economic condition you come from, the migratory pattern you got here, those things all matter. And that's one thing I can say about the younger generation. They don't see those barriers. And we're learning more and more and more and more from that generation.
Yeah.
I'm being educated by my youngsters on, can I say that? I got to go back to my HR manual. I don't think I can call them that, but I did.
You can't call them youngsters.
These people are explaining, no, Laura, we understand. It's the same thing, right? We're getting the very same thing. Black and brown people need to be united as one.
I grew up in Mexican Town in Detroit, off of Waterman and Fort Street. And there has never been a time in my adult life where I have sought out work or training or resources where the people who lived around me, who I lived around, were not in the same room.
Amen.
There has never been a disconnect between Blacks and Latinos for me, because it's literally where I sprouted up, where I learned everything, and where I'm from, and I'm always about where I'm from. So yeah, it's a little different now. It's a little different now, but that's not what I'm used to. And so we're going to try to change it to what we used to around here.
And you know, to your point, Krista, when I was in corporate America, I remember there were a few Latina women coming in and learning, and mentorship was necessary. But we had that pecking thing going on, and I could have done a much better job of opening the door. I kind of felt like I had enough of the work already I had to fight and trudge through all of it. But I can tell you this, I think the Hispanic population already come ready to do entrepreneurship. We come ready to go to the plant. We come ready
to go to work.
We're
ready to go to work.
We want to go and get a W-2. They have figured out that we are sick of asking, and we will make our own way. So that, to me, is huge.
That's where we need to be linking up at. Let's go.
I can watch how they do it. They know they can get in the kitchen and make some stuff and do some stuff. They will do janitorial work. They can do some construction. They are a resilient group of people, and we blended together can slay the world. Look at what the economy says. Their growing population is going to be the number one. They're not going to be a minority in the next 5 years.
Number one.
I
just read that too.
Number one, right? We've known this when I taught collegiately, we've known this for a decade, that it was up and coming. But they weren't trying to burst into CEO spots and all the rest of it, although they've done a great job. Look at Guzman. What we need is to understand their entrepreneurial journey, because they understand, and they're very resilient, and they're very community driven.
Very much so.
Very familial. They love that connection. Very familial.
Figure out the word I'm looking for. Is it versatile?
It's
versatile. Like I said, it doesn't matter what job needs to be done, it's going to get done because there's a goal, and we're all going to go to this goal.
And my network, who can do it? Who's coming?
Do it? We're all doing it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. We can all do it together. And I think in some ways we very much can learn from them and vice versa. But I mean, if we just came together like we're supposed to be.
And we will, because we have learned, and we've seen in this current economic condition, and those who have loud beacons, when you oppress a group of people, consistently oppress a group of people, being fed up is the only thing you can be.
Yep.
And so rising up is the only next thing that's actually going to happen. And you've got a lot of people rising up, and collectively we're going to move the needle and get it all done.
And most of them in the city are women.